Good morning, dear students. This is your teacher Neelam Elawat, and we are doing a chapter that is chapter number 20, Locomotion and Movement. And this is our lecture number 4. In the previous module, we have talked about the contraction of the muscle fiber. How does a muscle contracts? Okay, dear students. Now, in this particular video, we'll be talking about the skeletal system. Now, before we start with the skeletal system, have you ever seen a house or a skyscraper being built? आपने देखा है घर बनाने से पहले उसके ऊपर एक लोहे का skyscraper बनाया जाता है, right? What is the function of that metal or that frame of the building? Exactly, it supports the walls and the roof. Okay, similarly, we also have a frame, and that particular frame is referred to as the skeletal system. So just like a frame inside a building, our skeleton is inside our body, which is your endoskeleton. Okay, since our skeleton system, it is present inside our body, it is called endoskeleton or the internal skeleton. Now coming to the skeleton system, dear students, our skeletal system is mostly made up of bones and cartilages. So these two, they together constitute our skeletal system. The bones, they are very hard tissue and they're also little flexible. They're not so flexible, but cartilages, they are tough and a flexible tissue. Like as you can see the ear and the ends of your nose. Just see your nose can be bent. Just hold your nose, everyone. Just hold your nose and try to fold it. It can easily be bent on either side, isn't it? So this is your cartilage. So cartilage can be a flexible one, while your bones, they are not flexible. They are very hard tissue and they are not so flexible. Clear? The ends of some bones also contain some cartilages, and this protects the bone from rubbing against each other. तो जो आपके bones के ends हैं, they are also covered with cartilages so that they are not rubbed against each other. Now coming to your bones, there are exactly 206 bones in your body. How many bones, dear students? 206 bones. Okay. And these bones, they are of various size. They may be long, they may be short, they may be flat. The smallest bones, there are 3 smallest bones, that is your incus, stapes and malleus, and they are present in your ear. तो जो smallest bones हैं वो आपके ears में present हैं, and the largest bone is the femur, which is your thigh bone. Okay, so how many bones in total? 206 bones. The smallest bone is present in the ears, and the largest bone is present in your thighs, that is your femur. And your bones, they can be grouped into 2 main categories. One is axial skeleton and second is your appendicular skeleton. हम आपकी जो बोन्स हैं उन्हें 2 तरीके से ग्रुप कर सकते हैं. आपके ह्यूमन स्केलेटन सिस्टम को हम 2 मेन पार्ट्स में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं. फर्स्ट इज योर axial skeleton that constitutes your skull, rib cage and the backbone. इसमें axial skeleton में हम काउंट करते हैं आपके skull को, rib cage को और backbone को. And your appendicular skeleton talks about your shoulders, hip, pelvis region and your arms. Now let's start with the axial skeleton. Now this is a flow chart. Before we go further, let's study this flow chart. So in total we have 206 bones. Now these 206 bones we can divide into axial skeleton as well as appendicular skeleton. So axial skeleton is constituted of 80 bones. How many bones are there in axial skeleton? 80 bones, while your appendicular skeleton constitutes 126 bones, and together they make up 206 bones. Now coming to the axial skeleton, first your skull. Skull is constituted by 22 bones. Cranium is having 8 bones. Okay. Facial 14, then ear ossicle 6 and hyoid bone is 1. Vertebrae, there are 26 vertebrae. Cervical 7, thoracic 12, lumbar 5, sacral 1, caudal 1. Then there is 1 sternum and there are 12 pair of ribs. So these all together constitute your axial skeleton. Now let's talk about the skull first. We'll be taking all the four separately. Now coming to the skull. As I told you, your skull is made up of 22 bones. How many bones? 22 bones. Okay. Right. So there are two sets of bones. We can categorize these 22 bones into two types. One is cranial bones, another is your facial bones. Your cranial bones, they are 8 in number, and the facial bones, they are 14 in number. So 8 आपकी जो है वो cranial bones है और 14 आपकी facial bones है. Clear है? Okay. Is it clear to everyone? Just look at your bones which are there. You can look at here. You have a frontal bone, parietal bone, temporal bone, occipital bone, occipital condyle you have, hyoid bone, mandibular, maxilla, zygomatic bone, nasal bone, lacrimal bone, ethmoid bone, sphenoid bone. Okay, so these they are fully labeled. Okay, they are fully labeled. So all your facial bones, they have been indicated in the diagram. You can count, they are all facial bones which are there. तो आपकी facial bones हैं जो आसानी से indicate की गई हैं. Now other than this, there are 6, you can say, bones which are present in the ear. Okay, 6 bones हैं जो आपके ear में आती हैं. That is your which are called your ear ossicles. Okay, so these 3 bones, they are present in the middle ear. So middle ear में आपके 6 bones आती हैं, 3 in each ear, and they are collectively called as ear ossicles. Right, everyone? So in total we have 22 bones in the complete skull. कितनी bones in total? 22 bones. 8 cranial bones and 14 facial bones. So you can look at here. So skull made up of 22 bones. 8 cranium में है, 14 फेस पर है, दैट इज योर फेशियल बोन्स, 6 ईयर ऑसिकल्स हैं और एक हायोइड बोन है. ठीक है, क्लियर? ओके. नाउ कमिंग टू योर वर्टिब्रल कॉलम. योर वर्टिब्रल कॉलम बेसिकली कंसिस्ट ऑफ 26 वर्टिब्रे. आपका जो वर्टिब्रल कॉलम है, you can look into the diagram. This shows your vertebral column. So your vertebral column is basically made up of 26 serially arranged vertebrae. So 26 vertebrae मौजूद हैं यहाँ पर, and the vertebral column can be divided into the 5 basic types of vertebra. There are 7 cervical vertebrae. ठीक है, ये जो आपके हैं ये 7 cervical vertebrae हैं जो first 7 हैं. Then you have 12 thoracic vertebrae. These are your thoracic vertebrae. आपके chest में जो vertebrae हैं they are thoracic. आपके neck में जो vertebrae हैं they are cervical. तो कई बार आपने सुना होगा कि that मेरे को cervical की problem हो गई है, तो this means these vertebrae. Then after that there are 5 lumbar vertebrae. 5 आपके lumbar vertebrae हैं. Then one is your sacral and one is coccygeal, that is coccyx. So 1 sacral, 1 coccygeal, 5 lumbar, 12 thoracic and 7 cervical vertebra. So in total there are 26 vertebrae which are present. Okay dear students, and your vertebral column, it protects your spinal cord. ये जो आपका vertebral column है ये आपकी spinal cord को protect करता है, and it supports your head, and it also serves as an attachment for the ribs and muscles on the back. प्लस इसके साथ आपकी मसल्स भी अटैच होती हैं, आपके हेड को सपोर्ट देता है और इसके साथ यहाँ आपका मसल्स आकर अटैच होती हैं. सो वर्टेब्रल कॉलम, इट प्रोटेक्ट्स योर स्पाइनल कॉर्ड, इट सपोर्ट्स योर हेड एंड इट एक्ट्स एज अ पॉइंट वेयर योर ribs and muscles, they are attached. Now sternum is also, there is a sternum also present. Now sternum is a flat bone on the ventral midline of the thorax. पीछे की साइड पर जो है वेंट्रल साइड पर स्टर्नम एक आपकी फ्लैट बोन है. लेट्स स्टडी दी स्टर्नम. लेट्स सी दिस. Okay, now before that let's see vertebra. Let's talk about the structure of the vertebra. Now each vertebra has a central hollow portion जिसे हम कहते हैं न्यूरल कैनाल। तो हर एक वर्टिब्रा में एक सेंट्रल पोर्शन होता है जो खाली होता है, जिसके थ्रू स्पाइनल कॉर्ड पास होती है। फर्स्ट वर्टिब्रा है दैट इज कॉल्ड एटलस एंड इट आर्टिकुलेट्स विद ऑसिपिटल कॉन्डाइल्स। तो पहला जो आपका वर्टिब्रा है दैट इज कॉल्ड एटलस, और ये आपकी ऑसिपिटल कॉन्डाइल से आर्टिकुलेट करता है। नाउ दिस फ्लैट बोन इज योर स्टर्नम। ये जो आपकी बोन है ये आपकी स्टर्नम है। एज आई टोल्ड यू दैट स्टर्नम इज अ फ्लैट बोन ऑन द वेंट्रल साइड, so this is your sternum. Okay, this portion is your sternum. Clear everyone? Now there are 12 pair of ribs. हमारे पास 12 pairs of ribs हैं, and each rib is a thin flat bone which is connected to the vertebral column and connected to the sternum. तो on ventral side it is connected to a sternum, and यहाँ से it is on the dorsal side it is connected to a vertebral column. तो आपके dorsal side पे ये आपके vertebral column से यानी spinal cord से जुड़ जाती है, और दूसरी साइड से यानी ventrally side पे ये आपके sternum से जुड़ती हैं। जो first 7 pairs हैं उन्हें हम true ribs बोलते हैं। The first 7 pairs they are called true ribs, ठीक है, because they are connected with sternum and they are also connected with the vertebral column. जो आपकी 8th, 9th एंड 10th है, दिस 7 आर योर ट्रू रिब्स। लेकिन आपकी जो 8th, 9th, 10th रिब्स हैं ये आर्टिकुलेट, दे डोंट आर्टिकुलेट विद स्टर्नम। ये स्टर्नम के साथ आर्टिकुलेट नहीं करती, बट दे आर कनेक्टेड विद दे आर जॉइंड विद द 7th रिब। ये आपकी 7th रिब से जुड़ती हैं। तो 8th, 9th और 10th जो रिब है ये स्टर्नम से डायरेक्टली कनेक्ट नहीं होती हैं, बल्कि दे आर कनेक्टेड विद द 7th रिब, एंड दैट इज वाई दे आर कॉल्ड फॉल्स रिब्स। देन द 2 रिब्स दैट इज योर 11 and 12, जस्ट लुक इनटू द डायग्राम, द 11 and 12 they are called as floating ribs, right? They are called as floating ribs because they are not connected ventrally. ये आपकी floating ribs हैं, ये आपके वेंट्रली जो है स्टर्नम से कनेक्ट नहीं होती है। ओके, दे आर फ्लोटिंग रिब्स। सो यू हैव 7 pairs of true ribs, 3 pairs of false ribs and 2 pairs of floating ribs. ठीक है, 2 पेयर आपके पास फ्लोटिंग रिब्स हैं, 11th और 12th आपकी फ्लोटिंग रिब्स हैं, 1 to 7 आपकी ट्रू रिब्स हैं, 8 to 9 आपकी फॉल्स रिब्स हैं। Now coming to the appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton consists of 3 portions. Okay, it consists of your 3 portions. The limbs plus their girdles. So in limbs you will have 2 portions, the hands and the legs. Okay, तो आपके पास 2 चीज़ें हैं। limbs में आपकी 120 bones होती हैं। Each limb has 30 bones. हर एक limb में आपकी 30 बोन होती हैं। So 30 multiplied with 4 will give you 120 bones. So there are 120 bones in the limbs. That is your hand and your legs. Then you have girdles. There are 6 bones in the girdle. Right? One is your pectoral girdle, another is your pelvic girdle. So there are 2 clavicle. पेक्टोरल में 2 क्लेविकल होते हैं, 2 स्कैपुला होते हैं, ठीक है। सो 4 + 2 pelvic girdle also has 2 parts, that is 2 coxal bones. इसमें यहाँ पर आपके पास 2 coxal bones होती हैं। So in total 6. So that makes you 126 bones. So 126 bones, 120 bones are in the limbs and second bones are in your girdles. Pectoral has 4 bones, pelvic girdle has 2 bones. Now coming to the first, your hands. ये देखिए, ये आपका हैंड का स्ट्रक्चर है। दिस पोर्शन इज योर हैंड, यहाँ से लेकर यहाँ तक का आपका ये हाथ है। सो इन योर हैंड्स देर इज ह्यूमरस। द फर्स्ट बोन इज कॉल्ड योर ह्यूमरस, दिस पोर्शन इज योर ह्यूमरस। जो पहली बोन है वो आपकी ह्यूमरस है। सेकेंड बोन इज योर रेडियस एंड अल्ना, दिस पोर्शन इज योर रेडियस एंड अल्ना। तो जो आपका शोल्डर बोन है दैट इज योर स्कैपुला, राइट, एंड देन यू हैव रेडियस एंड अल्ना, देन यू हैव रिस्ट बोन्स, ये आपके पास 8 कार्पल्स हैं, 4 on each hand. Clear? 4 on each hand, so total 8 bones are there. Clear? Then you have metacarpals which are 5 in number. 5 metacarpal हैं और 14 phalanges हैं. Again I am telling you, एक humerus है, एक radius ulna है और carpals 8 carpals है. तो आप गिन सकते हैं. So in your hands there are humerus bone, radius ulna bone, 8 carpals, 5 metacarpals and 14 phalanges. So these are the bones of your hand. Any doubt, students? Okay. Now this is, can you count how many total it is? See, 1 plus 2, 10, 10, 20, and how much? See, your radius ulna, they are 2 in number. आपके जो radius ulna है वो 2 हैं. So 1 humerus, 2 is radius ulna. So 8, 9, 10, 11. So that makes us 30. So one hand has 30. Second hand also will have 30. Okay. Now coming to the bones of your leg. अब हम देखते हैं आपके bones, legs में कितनी bones है. Clear? How many bones in your legs? So the first bone is the femur bone. This is the femur bone. This is the first. Then you have, and this femur is the largest bone, right? We have discussed. Then you have tibia and fibula. Okay. So first is femur. Second is tibia and fibula. Then your tarsals. Tarsals, they are 7 in number. Then you have metatarsals, which are 5 in number, and then your phalanges, which are 14 in number. So femur is 1, tibia and fibula it is 2, tarsals they are 7, metatarsals they are 5, and this phalanges they are 14. In addition to this, there is a patella bone. So one bone, this is also one bone, patella bone is also there. Now just total up. Just add it up. So this also your 30. So your legs also have a 30 bone. So one leg has 30 bones. Coming to a pectoral girdle. ये जो आपकी girdle है ये आपके shoulder में होती है. This is a girdle which is present in your shoulder. Okay. So this girdle is made up of 2 parts. One is your clavicle, another is scapula. Let's look into this. Can you see this or not? Let's look up into this diagram. See this. Clavicle and scapula. Okay, clavicle and scapula. So your shoulder bone is called your pectoral girdle. And it has 2 halves. One is clavicle, another is scapula. Now this scapula is a large triangular flat bone. Okay, it is a large triangular flat bone. Which one? The scapula. Okay. And it has a spine. It has, you can say the dorsal flat triangular body of scapula. It has a spine-like structure which is called acronium. So this spine-like structure is called acronium. Okay. This is called spine-like structure is called acronium. And the clavicle will articulate with this. ये जो acronium process है इसके साथ जो है आपका it will articulate with the clavicle. Acronium के नीचे एक छोटी सी cavity होती है जिसे हम कहते हैं glenoid cavity. And this cavity will articulate with your humerus bone. Okay, ये जो cavity है glenoid cavity जो आप यहाँ देख सकते हैं ये आपकी humerus bone से articulate होती है. Clear है? Okay. And each clavicle is a long slender bone with 2 curvatures. And this is also commonly called as the collarbone. ठीक है? इसको हम कभी कभी कॉलर बोन भी कहते हैं. किसको? क्लेविकल को. सो ये क्लेविकल इज अ स्लेंडर बोन विद 2 कर्वेचर्स. 2 कर्वेचर्स होते हैं उसमें, स्लेंडर बोन होती है, इसलिए हम उसे क्या कहते हैं? कॉलर बोन भी कहते हैं. सो क्लेविकल बोन इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज योर कॉलर बोन. देन इज योर pelvic girdle. pelvic girdle जो है, इसमें 2 coxal bones होती हैं. हाउ मेनी? 2 coxal bones. while your pectoral girdle contains 4 bones. 4 bones होती हैं इसमें. ठीक है. One side of the shoulder contains 1 clavicle and scapula. And the side also contains 1 clavicle and scapula. So एक हाफ में, एक girdle में 2 हाफ होते हैं. So total 4 bones. Now coming to pelvic girdle, it has 2 coxal bones. This is 1 coxal. This 1 half part is 1 coxal bone. And your 1 coxal bone is made up of 3 parts: ilium, ischium, and pubic part. Okay, ilium, ischium, and this part is your pubic part. और ये आपका ilium है. So ilium, ischium, and pubis part. Okay, ilium, ischium, and pubic part. And where they all are joining with each other, there is a cavity which is called acetabulum. तो ये जो आपकी सेंटर में कैविटी है, this cavity is called acetabulum. Okay, this cavity is called acetabulum. और जहाँ पर pubic join होती है उसे हम कहते हैं pubic symphysis. Okay, the 2 halves of the pelvic girdle, they unite and they form the pubic symphysis. तो ये 1 part है, ये 2nd part है. They will join with each other and they will form the pubic symphysis. So there are 2 coxal bones present in the pelvic girdle, and each bone has 3 parts: ilium, ischium, and pubis, and they have a cavity which is called acetabulum. So they have a cavity which is called acetabulum, and the 2 halves of the pelvic girdle, they unite and they form the pubic symphysis. Is it clear, everyone? Okay. So coming to homework for today, that is, you got to make the notes of this topic, and then you will read the page numbers 309 to 311. Very carefully you will read all the pages of the NCERT. Right? You will read the page numbers of the NCERT and you will practice. And if there is any doubt, dear students, you will definitely ask me. Feel free to ask your queries to me. Okay, everyone? Okay. So that's all for today. Bye, everyone.